What industries does industrial process commissioning apply to? Industrial process commissioning is complex, and there are many project-specific details that are required for each specific project and each specific industry in order to successfully commission and start up these complex systems. Detailed plans are required that give the specific operating configurations to test for mechanical flow configurations, detailed switching orders indicating breakers to open and close with associated lockout-tagout for electrical configurations to test, and lots of settings and control parameters to test for monitoring and control of each plant process. All of these details are specific to each project and specific to each industry, which makes industrial process commissioning challenging and fun at the same time. The structured and organized commissioning process you must follow to properly plan and execute commissioning of industrial plant processes is the same in order to de-risk your project commissioning and ensure on-site testing goes smoothly so startup of the plant processes is successful. I'll show you how the industrial commissioning process applies to the following industries: upstream, midstream, and downstream oil and gas processing facilities, power generation such as hydroelectric, gas turbine, nuclear, coal, or geothermal, power transmission such as HVDC converter stations or power substations, renewable energy such as wind, solar, or biogas, water treatment, wastewater treatment, manufacturing facilities, food processing facilities, chemical plants, fertilizer plants, desalination plants, semiconductor manufacturing, pharmaceutical manufacturing, any capital project that establishes an industrial process to perform a specific output or function. For example, a wastewater treatment plant produces clean water within environmental guidelines to be discharged to rivers and streams. Commissioning and startup of the biological nutrient removal process must follow the structured and organized industrial commissioning process. Another example, an LNG processing facility produces liquefied natural gas for transport to other markets. Commissioning and startup of the liquefaction process to cool, purify, and add odor to the raw natural gas must follow the same industrial commissioning process. And one more example, a hydroelectric power generating station produces power from moving water. Commissioning and startup of the turbine and generator systems, along with all control and monitoring systems, must follow the same industrial commissioning process. All of these facilities implement an industrial process to generate a desired outcome, which is the reason the same approach is taken for industrial process commissioning. You may think that your project is unique and that the industrial commissioning process does not apply. You may think you need something specific to your industry, but this is actually not the case. The industry-best industrial commissioning process followed by all the big companies definitely does apply. Let me explain further. Each of these projects require the same level of detailed planning to prepare for on-site commissioning. While the specific mechanical valves to operate, the specific breakers to open and close, and the control philosophy of each system is different for each of these industries and even different for projects within the same industry, the same risk mitigating activities are required in advance to prepare for commissioning and startup of each plant process. For example, the contracts for each of these projects, regardless of their delivery model, needs to define the details of how commissioning will be accomplished to conclude the project and who is responsible as the commissioning authority. Equipment procurement contracts, whether the equipment is mechanical, electrical, or automation related, needs to define the requirements for testing in the factory before equipment is shipped to site. Design groups need to have the end in mind to ensure that what they are putting on paper can be successfully installed and commissioned in the field. This applies to all industrial plant processes, and designs must align with the overall commissioning philosophy. Construction quality management plans are required to ensure every detail as defined by the design and all the contract quality requirements are met to ensure the commissioning team is receiving snag-free equipment to prevent delays. Miss any details, and this impacts any of the plant processes that I mentioned. Integrated factory acceptance testing of complex control and protection cubicles needs to be thoroughly performed in the factory before cubicles ship to site. This includes both the hardware and the software. Deferring integration of the hardware and software to take place for the first time on site is too late in the project and will impact commissioning of any type of plant process. The pre-commissioning set of tests for mechanical, electrical, and automation systems is the same regardless of what type of process fluids are in the pipes. Flushing and cleaning of pipes needs to take place, verification of P&ID drawings needs to be done, point-to-point and measure checks are required, and loop checks need to be completed. There is a standard set of important pre-commissioning activities that need to be performed for all industrial plant processes to prepare equipment for more detailed system commissioning. Each industry and each project will of course have a process-specific PCN, or process control narrative, that gives the specifics of how the plant process is to function for both normal operating scenarios and fault or contingency conditions. Commissioning is required for all industrial plant processes to verify that the PCN has been correctly implemented in the field, to verify that the project-specific control and operation of the systems is functioning correctly. Of course, the detailed operating scenarios and process control functions are specific to each industry and each project, but the process to follow to verify correct operation per the PCN is the same. While different stimulus or operating conditions are applied to each system, the thought process and test execution is the same, and once you understand industrial process commissioning, you can apply it across all industrial plant processes. Again, the PCN defines how the systems are to function, and once properly verified during commissioning, startup of each specific plant process will go much smoother. When you understand the industrial commissioning process, your industry-specific startups go much smoother and much safer. The process-specific experts are certainly required to participate. For example, process engineers that understand how to analyze the detailed biological nutrient removal requirements of wastewater treatment are required as part of your commissioning team, and there will be other process experts required to evaluate the results of each specific plant process, but the stages of commissioning and the steps to take are the same for all plant processes. Performance verification verifies that your plant process meets the original project technical requirements set out at the beginning of your project, and the process to monitor and record project-specific parameters is the same. Also note that the operational readiness process is very similar for all industrial plant processes. You will need to set up an asset management system, provide operational documentation such as SOPs and SWPs to operators, and your operating team will require training to prepare for operation and maintenance of the new facilities. Miss any of these stages of the commissioning process for any of these types of projects in any of these industries, and your commissioning and startup will not go well. However, when you apply a structured and organized commissioning process to these industrial process facilities, you have a much higher chance of success to complete your projects on time and on budget, so that you can provide reliable systems to plant operators to operate the plant process. And this must be the end goal, to provide high-quality plant processes with the end user in mind so that we can depend on our critical infrastructure that our society needs. Understand the stages of industrial process commissioning and the steps to take at each stage, and your projects have a much higher chance of success. One thing to note, while similar, industrial process commissioning is different from building commissioning, given that there is no industrial process as part of a building project. The building is the enclosure and the life safety systems, but within the building, there is no additional process equipment to implement a plant process, no power generated or gas produced. The building is an environmentally controlled space with other support systems such as lighting and security systems or HVAC. For this reason, the building commissioning process is missing some of the critical aspects required for process equipment commissioning, particularly related to operational aspects of the facilities. At the Commissioning Academy, we specialize in helping projects implement industry-best commissioning processes for industrial plants. Learn more at commissioningandstartup.com, where you can enroll in our Commissioning Academy full system commissioning training program, or sign up for our free 3-day mini course to get started for free.